the more things change, the more they remain the same. You know, I can go back, I'm 54 years old, I can go back to when I was a teenager and follow all the way up to today to see that nothing has really changed when it comes to racial profiling and how community colors are treated. I myself, you know, as a young man, as young as 17 years old, and this is the literal truth, I was kidnapped by the police. They took off their badges, took me over to commercial before the trolley tracks were running, the trolley was running, and assaulted me. Another time I got robbed when I was taking the juvenile hall. They took my money, filed numerous complaints against the police department for these things, met with their supervisors and whole shebang. Nothing never came of that. But one thing was said to me that rings true today, and that's why I was bringing this up, is I remember one day I got stopped by a police officer, and he just immediately started verbally assaulting us and snatching us out of the car and the whole thing. And so I'm at the back of the trunk of my friend's car, and I'm handcuffed, and the supervisor who interviewed me came up, and he said, "Hey, what's going on, Courtney?" So I explained to him what happened, because I had filed numerous complaints, so they know I'm a complaint filer. And I explained to him what the officer did. He went over and said something to the officer. The officer came back over, unhandcuffed me. He apologized. He said, "I'm sorry for the way I treated you." He said, "But this is the way I was told." And it seems like, you know, 37 years ago, the same thing is happening today. Is that, you know, and because I actually work with law enforcement and community in trying to reduce gang violence and prevent violence that is happening in the community. We do things like walk and knocks. We walk with the police. We knock on doors, offer resources, find hotspots. So we're working to reduce crime and work with law enforcement in those areas. But we also work with the community, those that are the chronic offenders, those that everybody else has given up on, like gang members and so on. We work with them to try to help them change their lives and so on. And I get numerous of stories about how they have been racially profiled. And at first I didn't really, you know, you think, well, you know, you're out there, you know, must be doing something wrong. But then I started experiencing it myself. You know, a couple of years ago, I actually was followed for 12 blocks in City Heights, and then I turned on, I believe it's 38th Street, and they turned with me. Then they finally put the light on me. I was going to a curfew sweep. I had a program where we did curfew sweeps, and they pulled me over. And basically what they told me was that my license plate light was out. And of course, that same day I put in a complaint, because they didn't give me a ticket or anything. When they found out who I was and I started name dropping, they immediately, you know, said, "Okay, have a nice day," and let me go. But these are instances, and I know what these young men are going through because they share with me all the time.
Some of you already. With that being said, you know, anytime the government makes any effort to chill or suppress free speech, this is a horrifying thing for a democracy. And you know, I would have expected more from our police department, quite frankly. But what I found, discovered just yesterday, is in fact our police department here, SDPD, has been monitoring our activities on Mr. Branch's case. Because Mr. Robert Branch was choked unconscious by a plainclothes officer not in a marked uniform, understandably his case has garnered the support of civil rights groups throughout San Diego and through our local groups. That's in fact how Mr. Harris and I, Reverend Harris, became acquainted. I have been asked to speak on a number of occasions to some civil rights-minded people and groups, and I've done so, and it's been my privilege to do so on behalf of Mr. Branch. I was astounded yesterday to find out that undercover officers have been recording our events, transcribing statements made on multiple occasions. I spoke in a church in July this past year, so we do have our government recording what we're doing secretly inside a house of worship. That should bother anyone. It was a public event. They could have just said they were there. No one would have had a problem with anyone recording anything, but the surreptitious manner in which it's being effectuated is really troubling. And in fact, it has not. What happened on July 9, 2016, when I spoke to a group of persons trying to educate them about Mr. Branch's case, has nothing to do with the events of May of 2015, the day Mr. Branch was assaulted by the police officer. But here we are with our local law enforcement resurrecting efforts that happened to suppress civil rights back in the 60s with the FBI and COINTELPRO. I mean, this is a resurgence of that type of activity. That is troubling to me. I haven't slept, I haven't eaten since I found out about this yesterday. And I'm going to think twice about the next time I speak in a church to a group, because the government's there, they're recording it, now we're on notice. That's troubling. This is why we need civilian oversight. This is government run amok. This is police forces run amok. We need to do something about this, and I want our now oversight committee to take action. And I'm calling upon them. What are you going to do about this?
I'm going to do what you say you're going to do. I'm going to continue pushing. This is just evidence that when you're making change and when you're doing something, some people aren't doing nothing. They're sitting on couches expecting things to change. This is evidence that the fact that they're watching us, and not just me, they're watching leaders like Bishop Bowser and attorneys like Dan Gillian and Mark Conan who are actually implementing change. This is just a sign that you're doing something. This is why I'm not scared. I do get a little, this is a little creepy, but this is not new to us. Like Attorney Dan Gillian said, this is not new to us at all. This shows that we're doing something. And the message I want to send to them in every paper and document that's going to go out after today, the news article, is I want them to know, thank you. Thank you for following me. Thank you for making me bigger. This is continuing to push the agenda of police reform in this city and in this county. And this is why we're going to keep pushing. This is evidence that I need to keep fighting for what I believe.